I had such a great time working on some dark matte paper. I have another slightly larger size card here. This is I believe it's a 5 by 7 inch pre-folded card. Okay. Yeah, so this is going to be well, it's actually about a 9 3/4 by 7. You can use a full-size piece of paper if you want to. If you want to do this in a full-size piece. This one right here has this crease down the middle, so it's really meant to be viewed like that. So you can just do even like I don't know, a half-page piece of paper or quarter page if you want to. If you want to make it a little bit smaller, you can do that. We're going to be using stamps from Nature's set number 8 here, as far as the Pines and Rocks, the Lakeside Cove Lg, and the Oak Branch. Okay, I'm going to try to do something a little bit different on this one. I'm going to get this kind of star pattern going here in the background, and of course this dark paper is really perfect for that. I really like how it looks on the matte paper too. I like how this looks on everything. You know, if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I really love this kind of splatter paint type of thing. It takes me back to childhood, where I think we did this once in kindergarten or first grade. But I think if you kind of give an opportunity to a kid, they'll do this all the time. But it's just a fun thing to do. And this is some Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White. It's a very opaque watercolor paint. It's very inexpensive, and one bottle goes a long way. And of course, it's just a used, I'm guessing, medium to firm bristle old toothbrush. Sometimes it's hard to find these just flat toothbrushes now. You get those ones with the kind of the varied style brushes. Some are plastic to massage the gums and everything like that these days, but you can still find them out there. Okay, so I'm going to spray this whole thing right here, and this paint leaves a little bit of a raised surface, because these little splatters, I mean, while they're flat, they are still a little bit dimensional, and they dry on here pretty fast. But one of the things that I'm going to do in this scene is I want to do the Orion constellation on here too, okay? So here we go. I don't want to get this too complex in the background, so I'm not going to spray too much because I do want to bring out specific stars in here. Okay, so that's about right there. It's really easy to go overboard with this if you want to. See that right there? It makes for a really good service. And since this is a card, that you can open and close, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray the inside to get some of that same texturing going in here, okay? So do it a little bit like this, too. You can kind of do it like in the pattern of a little Milky Way and just kind of, go down like this. Maybe I'll go down like that a second time to get it to go in the specific area. Maybe I'm going a little bit closer to my paper than I normally do. When I'm spraying like this to just get this general pattern, I'm much further away, like twice the distance, so that it has a wider spray pattern. But I don't know, that to me looks like a little Milky Way, doesn't it? Okay. Now this dries pretty fast, but just be careful that you don't, squash this down like this too fast and get some of those stars to blur out on you. But let's see here. That should be dry. Let me just kind of fan it like this a little bit. This should be a pretty fast scene. Kind of developing the technique of doing this. I've done these before, but I don't do them so often, so I kind of get unfamiliar with the entire process, and I kind of forget a lot of things. There's 800 videos at this point in time on the Stampscapes channel, and I don't know, there's probably about 5 scenes I've done on this type of, with this type of technique right here. Okay, so I have 4 different colors of paint pens here. These, you can use gel pens, you can try them. Gel pens tend to be a little more translucent, so if you're putting them over dark paper, I mean, a lot of gel pens are made to show up on dark, light on dark. I just find the paint pens to work a little bit easier for me in terms of kind of inherent opacity, but you know, the gel pens, I don't know, you can just kind of double color them a little bit, color, put a dot down, put another layer on it if you find you need to. These ones are the Sharpie ones, and I did a video of them recently. These are water-based, but I believe Sharpie does have some oil-based ones. Sometimes the oil-based ones are a little bit more opaque, which is kind of nice too. Okay, so the Orion Nebula. You can do this all in white too. That would be fine. But one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to have some trees in here, okay? So I'm going to put the nebula kind of up in the sky here. Someone was asking me about, or they sent me a photo of the nebula, and I love the Orion, or the Orion constellation in general, but there's also this nebula in it that's really cool. I don't think I'm going to be able to do the nebula. I'm going to do this as if it's more of a kind of just a straight photo as for, you know, as opposed to like a time, well, I don't know about time lapse photo, but like a long, super long exposure where you would get the nebula in there. Okay, so I have these pine trees. I'm going to have to leave room for the nebula. Maybe I'll start off on the bottom. You can just kind of reference a photograph online, but now this isn't going to be perfect, of course, but we have a kind of a larger star there. I'm looking at my computer right now and kind of getting the general configuration. I already have it, but in my head, but let's go a little bit more. Here's the Soaring sword, the belt kind of goes. I'm making these stars bigger here than the rest of the stars here because I want this to stand out. Okay, I'll go roughly like here. And then there's another star up here that's kind of, when you see photographs of it, it's much warmer. So I don't have a really good red paint pen, so I'll just go with the pink here. I'll make that fairly large like that. And I'll show you what I do on these stars right here too. So you see them right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But then the nebula is kind of right in here, so I'll make that kind of pink, like about like so. Now, if you were to send this to someone, you know, most people aren't going to know what this is up here. You know, if they're not into like astronomy or something like that. I don't know, they might. Maybe it's their constellation of their, you know, their birth constellation or something like that. But here's this, let's see, I used a pink rose. This one's a peach. Okay, it's a little bit of kind of a warm tan. Let me see if I can get some of this in the middle here without scraping up the other pink that's in there. Let's go for a little bit of a warm dot in the middle of the nebula down here. Okay, like about like so. And then, I tell you what, this one star is a little bigger in the photograph than I'm looking at right now. I just brought it up on a search engine and went into images. Okay, so we see those right there. And then, what I'm going to do with this white pen here is I'm going to put a dot in the middle of each one of these larger dots here. Let me see if I'm going to do that. I need to make this one a little bit larger if it's going to have that interior dot. Because I want to get dimension in, you know, the smallest of kind of elements here. And, you know, you get these little, these you know, distant stars glowing. And you know, it's good to get kind of like little detailed areas in each one of those. It's just a small thing to do, kind of detail in kind of the smallest of elements. And I think that when it comes to kind of this overall kind of cohesive type of impression you're trying to give, I think it pays off. And then we'll do some other things to this later on too. So this one's actually 3 layers. I have this pink out here, then I have on the interior, a little bit smaller, is the peach, a little bit of a warmer glow. And then we'll put this, hopefully lighter, little glow in the center here, okay? So you get these little dimensional little dots like that, okay? And we'll make them glow later on, too. All right, let's see. Is that a bit it as far as some stars go? I think that's it. I think my tendency is to put a few more dots around, you know, a little bit larger in here somewhere, but maybe I won't do that, because if I do that, it could detract from Orion here. I don't know. I mean, you could do that or whatever. We can also do all kinds of things in here. It'd be kind of fun to do, I don't know, Cassiopeia or something like that in here. But I don't know, this Milky Way looks really good. I don't think I've done that before with this thing. So that would be really good to do on this too sometime. Can you imagine the Milky Way in here on a cover piece? Now remember, you can do all these different types of techniques like this on, you know, any color paper. It doesn't have to be like a dark blue here. I think it would be good on the purple one that I used yesterday. Alright, so I want to go dark, so I'm using my Versafine Pigment Ink Black. If you have like a Memories Black, you know, like a dye-based ink, something nice and thick, I think, looks really good. Just the darker, the better. Alright, doesn't have to be Versafine, though. That one's just the one that I happened to get because someone told me, you know, black Versafine is really good for kind of detailed images. So I've had my, I don't know when I bought my pad. It could be, I don't think it's 10 years old, but it's quite old. The one that I always hear people getting these days, I think it's called the Claire Versafine or something like that. So it might be kind of more of an updated version. All right, so plenty of pressure on this. Sometimes, I don't know, maybe I don't need so much pressure because that ink is thicker to begin with, but I don't know, I want it to stamp over all of these stars, too, that are already in the background. A lot of times I stamp this first, and I spray over the top of it, and it kind of looks more like snow because the white is in the, you know, in front of the trees here, okay? See that right there? All right. Let's go for some additional impressions. Now this is kind of meant to be seen, you know, as a card like that. And if it's folded, you want this front piece to, you know, look like a cohesive whole. But when someone unfolds it, you also want it to work as, you know, as a full scene as well. Okay. All right, so we have something like this. Okay, now I'm going to go here. I want to use that Lakeside Cove, and maybe I'll use the Lakeside Cove on the interior. Huh. Okay, maybe I'll do that. I was going to put this one up here, but then I got to put something over here too. Or I can just end it like this. I can just have it like this, you know, and I can have this down here. But I don't know, I think I'm going to change up here and do this and have this whole piece just with this foreground type of pine row. Okay, and I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm kind of changing the angle, or not the angle, but the height of each one of these 4 impressions that I'll end up using here. I think I'm just using 4. I might use more. Okay, so I get this right here. Okay. We can go a little bit more if we want to. But I think we'll just go with that for right now. Alright, do I stamp out my next Lakeside Cove in here now? I think I better wait. I'll allow this to kind of soak up and drown. This matte paper, this pigment ink really sets up very quickly. Okay, now this looks fine to me, but I do like some extra texturing in here and whatnot. to bring in some kind of atmospherics, you know. And what I mean by that is I just want something else going on in the interior here. Some moisture in the air, in, you know, in the form of like clouds or something of that sort. Okay, so there's a couple different ways you can do this. If I'm working with light, dark on light, you know, we're working with a white piece of paper, I tend to use, I don't know, my paper towel ripping kind of technique in different kind of angles sometimes. When the lighting in this case is coming from the stars, though, I'll probably go like this. I'll probably mask off this way, okay? See, the torn edge is pointed down as opposed to pointed up, okay? So if I do this, then my clouds will be top lit, okay? Because the rounded edge is on the top portion of it, okay? And I'll show you what I mean when we get to it right here. All right, so easy types of techniques here, along with, you know, your common everyday types of household items. This is a cotton ball here, and this is a 100% cotton ball. I find that the natural fibers tend to work best when it comes to the handling of media. Okay. They're just more absorbent, and they're more absorbent, but they also give off, release the media as well. Okay. All right, so this is just white pigment ink here, and you can see that little kind of cloud I'm forming right there. My pad is fairly dry. My Hero Arts Unicorn White Pigment Ink pad. It's really quite dry, so as I dab in there, I'm not getting a big blob of paint. So depending on how wet your pad is, just be careful about the amount that you're applying here. I liken this to kind of applying like powder to a scene, as opposed to this thick glob of paint, okay? So isn't that how it's really kind of just very subtle? All right. Now we can make it more opaque. You know, you just keep adding more and more to certain areas. I think, and I like that too. I like my clouds to be varied. I don't want them just to be one shade too. Now, one of the things I didn't do on this one too is you can bring in some additional black values in here, and maybe we'll do that too. Maybe we'll do this in both white and black. I want to see what the time is here because I want these cards to be fairly quick to you know, to be able to do. But even with kind of a shorter time frame, you can really get in a lot of different techniques into a quick card scene. I mean, this really takes care of a lot of space very quick. Okay. All right, see that? How it's kind of looking like that. Some nice atmospherics. Okay. All right, let's see if I can kind of brighten up some of these areas. Maybe I just won't even use the mask. I'll just kind of go in and bring a little bit more light into certain areas of these clouds. You see that kind of lighting up in certain areas? This is all kind of mono value right here, but you just kind of, you know, bring in a little bit more into some of these areas like so. You can freeform some clouds. Or you can make a bank of them a little bit lighter. See, I can kind of bring this cloud right here. I can add some more to it like that. I try to keep that little separation, though, of darkness behind this front one and the back one like that. See that right there? See that right there? Now, one of the things you'll find, too, is you'll apply this pigment ink. If it's pigment ink, most pigment inks that I know, you'll apply this down, and it looks fairly light, and then it kind of dries and it gets darker. So sometimes you have to go a little bit lighter than what you think might look ideal Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. And let's do something here. Let's bring a little bit more character to this piece. Let's go into this Versafine. Let's grab a different piece of paper towel here. And let's add a little bit of tone up in the sky as well, okay? Alright, see that like that? And I'm just using the Versafine black here. I like to give a little bit of a kind of closure to the perimeter of my card. So I like to put this in the corners, top left and right, bottom left and right, like this. And again, this is the same type of thing. I tend to think of this process akin to applying like powder or chalk or something like that. Okay, it's a wet medium, but think of it in terms of applying something very light into your piece. Okay, you can even go into the nebula. I'm going to try to avoid going over my stars, but I'm going to leave things a little bit streakier. Let me try something right here too. Maybe I'll put some in the back of my cloud right here that I've established, okay? I'll try to define that edge of that cloud a little bit, maybe. We can come in here like this, have a longer kind of streak of that darkness in there. Do you see that kind of that streak across here? It's subtle because it's, you know, black on dark, so it doesn't show up quite as much. But I think, I don't know, I think having a little bit of that darker kind of swatch in there, my paper towel is getting chewed up here a little bit, but that's okay. Alright, see that right there? Is that kind of haze in there? Doesn't it kind of match the cloudy formations down there with the white pigment ink? Okay, maybe I could use the same thing in here, okay? I can bring a little bit of this in here, like so. Maybe I can stay away from some of that Milky Way, but four-corner type thing. Maybe not this corner because it has those stars right there. Although you could come in, you know, come in there a little bit. I love going out to areas. There's so much, you know, light pollution with you know, living in larger cities and whatnot. But I sure appreciate the stars when I see them. When I do get out to kind of darker areas, we used to go to the high deserts a lot, like Joshua Tree or out in the Mojave, out here in California. We go to Anza Borrego and Death Valley. I was in Death Valley last time, but it was much closer to a full moon, so really I didn't see any stars. It's really great out there on a full moon doing night hiking under a full moon, but you really miss all the stars. Okay, so anyway, pretty easy technique. I mean, this is almost like a full page scene, and you know, I took care of my toning. You know, on like two sides, it's almost like two full-page scenes, and what, you know, it took all of like, I don't know, a few minutes here. So it's pretty fast work in this type of technique. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, that little white dot there in front of that tree. I don't know how it got in front of it, or maybe I just didn't stamp in that area. Okay, so let's make this really come alive much more with a glow. Do I do that right now, or should I stamp out my Lakeside Cove on the interior? I'm not sure. Okay, here's the trick here. Once again, most of your pads out there are probably going to be too juicy. Just take your Q-tip and go right in here like this, but mine's really quite dry. And on this Q-tip right here, what you want to do, maybe I should have done this before I dabbed into the paint, but or ink, but you kind of fray this a little bit and get it nice and soft, okay? And then after you get that, what you do is you dab it out and you smash it down a little bit. It kind of flattens it down. It pushes that ink back into the swab. A lot of times I use the same one over and over again until I just can't use it anymore. But you want it real soft, and then, like I said, the natural fibers work better. So if you're working with a 100% cotton swab, it really works a lot better. Those acrylic ones, I wouldn't even use them for this type of technique. I've tried them. I just can't get them to work really well. Okay, so we see our Orion Nebula. I mean, it stands out just fine without all this, but this should really, from a textural and lighting standpoint, really make it stand out quite a bit more. Okay, so the stars, and then, see, from a textural standpoint, it really makes them glow and stand out, okay? But also, from another continuity standpoint, when you do this around these stars like this, what it's doing is it's creating this connection between these clouds down here, because these clouds have a similar type of, it's the same medium, and it's used in the same way. It's, kind of used very lightly, so it's kind of, you have this glowing, illuminated cloud down here, which is supposed to represent moisture in the sky, and putting it on these like really distant stars creates this connection between the distant and, those clouds aren't really close to us, but relatively close, and when we're talking about stars in the distance like that. So you get this glowing type of constellation right there. All right, now here's what I'm going to do too. Let's create an even stronger connection maybe with some of these clouds. So I'll take this Q-tip right here and I'll really lighten up some areas of some of these clouds here. Remember, they'll get a little bit lighter and darker as they dry, so I make them a little bit lighter than I think I'd want to, ideally. Okay, see that right there? It's just kind of creating a little bit of that connection, textural connection, and value connection. It's the same kind of lightness down here. See that right there? I don't know, doesn't that give those clouds a little bit more character just to have a little bit of a highlight on them like that? They become a little bit more integral, as far as the visuals go of the scene when you do that. Just by adding a little bit more value to them. Yeah, maybe I'll make some of these other little stars kind of glow a little bit. Not as much as the Orion, but yeah, just to bring a little bit of that texture into it. It's fun to do different constellations. If you're doing a birthday card to someone, you might send them some like this. There's like a different sign or constellation to each birth month. But anyways, this is how this card, I'm not going to bend it right yet, but see that right there? And then they open it up and it has this background in here. Now let's go to this area right in here, and let's create a little bit of a scene in here. This is the interior of the card. I guess with this folding card, you could, if you like this as the exterior, I guess you can fold it the other way too still. But it's just kind of fun having the interior, of course, have something in common with the exterior, vice versa. All right, I'm going to put this down about like so. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have that, the Milky Way going down into this lake. But hopefully this Versafine is thick enough where it stamps over all that textured paint in there. If it doesn't, then so be it. It'll have kind of more of a poetry to it, having the stars go right into our lake, as opposed to kind of back in the sky. Okay, so like that. I'm going to add some few more impressions here to continue this out. Okay, actually I might go with the pines and rocks here again. I'll bring this right around here. Who knows, maybe it's like a wraparound card where you kind of flip it and it's almost like, you know, it's a continuation of the front, maybe. Alright, I am stamping over this ridge right here, this crease, okay? So that's probably not going to stamp in there, but I'm not worried about that. Okay. I always love my stars. And I'll go about like so. Oops. Okay. Got that in the interior. What a card that would be to take this and to open it up like that too, huh? Alright, what are we at? We're at the 31-minute mark. It's not too bad. I mean, this is like 2 full-page scenes, practically, in 31 minutes. And this one's, you know, it's using a decent amount of technique right here. Okay, let's see. I have this word stamp here from one of our Scenic Sentiment sheets. Okay, this one is the When It Is Darkest, We See the Stars. It's kind of an optimistic type of thing, right? In terms of perspective, it could be this could be a get well card or something like that. There's all kinds of other things that we could use. The sky is the daily bread of the eyes. You know, moonlight is sculpture. That would have been perfect for that scene that I did yesterday. I mean, maybe on the interior I'll do that with the card. I'll stamp that in there. Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I don't think that one would work quite as well on this one because there's that, I don't know, 1,000 stars in this one. But let's see. Okay, I didn't practice stamp this. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stamp it out. It might not even be straight, but who cares? I guess I care a little bit, but not so much. Straight enough, okay. So when it is darkest, we see the stars. Look at this right here. Something like that. Orion. It's not as kind of warm and with the coloring I'd like. I need to get some other additional pens, I think, in different colors, but that looks okay. I like a little bit more bluish tinge in there, too. I don't know, I have this set of gel pens. Maybe I can play around with that. But that looks pretty good. Let me see something here. Let me pause. I think I want to throw a couple birds up here in the sky, in the night sky. Okay, I have a couple eagles here. I always love doing these 2 eagles together. It's kind of symbolic of kind of a connection and togetherness and whatnot. The spirit of it, so on and so forth. Okay. Alright, here's one right here. And of course it's going to be dark on dark, so it'll be a lot more subtle than usual. See that right there? And then that's the eagle. And this one's eagle soaring. Okay. And let's see, where should I use that one? I see that, like, these 2 birds up there kind of flying together. I mean, they wouldn't be flying at night, but again, we're doing, you know, scenes, and you make things kind of symbolic or whatever. Looks pretty good. I like the idea of those birds up there. There's this kind of symbolic of, you know, this free type of feeling here. So I'm going to put these this flock up here too, or the gulls actually, like that. Isn't that kind of fun? I mean, it's subtle. I don't know, since it's night, maybe people see that as bats or something like that. But all right, that looks pretty good. If you want to, you can take you know, your same Q-tip here, and you know, if you want to just add a little bit of a kind of variation to this otherwise fairly uniform looking Milky Way here, and to give a little bit of dimension, just, I don't know. My thing is maybe on a couple of these dots that got a little bit larger, maybe you give them that kind of that glowing type of texturing. You can do another constellation within this. That would be really fantastic. Like I said, Cassiopeia or something like that. So that would be right in that kind of Milky Way. I mean, you can do whatever, though. If it's someone's birthday or something like I said, or if you want to do it as a Christmas card, you can do kind of a night sky, you know, and kind of look up, you know, winter constellations and see what's in your area if you want to kind of layer kind of a different meaning and symbolism for yourself into the piece, or if you know someone that's you know, into astronomy or something like that, you can kind of surprise them by sending them a card. And, you know, you can put some kind of constellation that they'll recognize in there. But see that? Look at that dimension that brings to it. And see down here, like that. I don't know what side I like better. The interior, like this. See this right here? Let's go around to folding this card now. Like I said, this card was a pre-folded one. I would spray seal this, but I'm handling it like that. But look at this card. Just, I think that it's a simple, elegant statement like that, and then it has to read like this too. And then they get this other type of, you know, aspect of this, you know, in terms of something of visual interest there. I think the scene like that looks cool, but when you put those birds up there, it kind of gives them some other type of, I don't know, I call it a visual anchor here. You can put them over here too, I think that would be good, but then you'd have these kind of competing or, you know, complementary visuals on a scene like this. You know, if we did it like this, I mean, I think those eagles would be really cool flying up in the sky like that. But, I don't know, this folded card is pretty nice, so you have this. So this is how someone would read this probably. I don't know, they might open it up like this first, or they might look on the back, but then they close it off like this, and then they open it up like this. And isn't that a fun, that Milky Way there, isn't that fun to kind of open it up to that, like about like so. Here's a silver gel pen too. Oh, God, that looks really good. All right, now you're not going to be able to tell, I don't think. Let me see if I can hold this up to the light and have some of this silver showing. This is something that would be, or if you have kind of, you know, those little crystals or something that you actually glue down, you know, into something like this, that would be really fun too. To put one of those as like, you know, kind of the dominant star in a constellation. But let me see if I show you this silver. This is a silver gel pen that I'm working. A silver paint pen might. Let me see if I get this to focus. All right. I don't know if I can show you this right here. Sometimes it's more apparent when I do this and I angle it off like this. Let me see if I can see it here. Let me see. I think this pen right here, this gel pen, as it dries, it kind of just becomes, it looks like a piece of white. I don't see the metallic aspect of it. Okay, so I would use like this Zig Painty, this silver paint pen. I think that would show up a little bit better, but that makes it really fun. You can also do stickles or something like that. Put a little stickle detail or something like that on a star. And that's fun too. Glitter, you know, all kinds of little things like that. Wink of Stella pen, all right? I haven't used those for a while, but you can kind of go in and color some of these ones up and, you know, get them a little bit twinklier. So from a textual standpoint, it makes it a little bit richer, but look at that. I think that's a big interior opening like that. Isn't that more really effective as a card to open it up to like that? And what was it? Just, you know, some splatter painting like that, and, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 images right here, 5. I don't know, if, you know, and the birds right there, and doing that kind of streaking across there with the black is really quick and easy. All right. So anyway, hope you enjoyed my Orion card here. And if you stamped it out, hope you had a great time. One of the things about, you know, you find when stamping on kind of, this is slightly textured matte, you know, kind of a, you know, using kind of a nice thick black pad is good. And then always kind of press in the middle of them. And if something doesn't stamp out, like in the middle, like I almost didn't get like one of these things right here, you know, because I have this 2 stacks of paper right here, so I think I was stamping on an edge like this. I don't know, I'm not sure. But if it doesn't stamp out somewhere, what you do is you just ink it up on the top again and just stamp it, you know, a lower, so you have kind of 2 layers of that image in there. All right, so hope you had a good time. Hope you had fun if you stamped out with me. Doing these little things in the clouds like that is a lot of fun. Look at that little extra little white paint, you know, added. I always call this paint. It's white ink kind of added to that area with a little Q-tip right there after, you know, the paper towel masking type of thing. But getting that little bit in there, doesn't that add to that extra little glow by having those, the clouds look a little bit more dimensional just by adding a little bit of extra paint there, and I think that really does the trick. And looking at that Orion, that really stands out. Maybe it stands out too much, but I don't know if you really want to get the point across that that's Orion up there. I guess, you know, leave it different. I think I have it I think I would even this out a little bit more with some additional stars might be good. Maybe it looks too, you know, busy over there, so, you know, we can do something like, or not busy, but too maybe apparent. So maybe just kind of adding a few more of these like this, kind of, you know, kind of integrates that constellation a little bit more with the scene, perhaps. How's that look? Does it look a little bit better? Yeah, I think that looks a little bit better. It brings a little bit more visual interest over here, having a few darker, brighter stars too, maybe. Okay, so anyways, thanks again for watching. Hope you stamped along with me. Or if you didn't, and you didn't have certain stamps, you can substitute other types of ones right down here. You can do a single tree. I was using the pines and rocks, but if you have a single pine, you can do this entire, you know, tree line here with one stamp. And then you have the interior like that. So switching things around, you know, not making it so redundant, you know, so the back interior has this, you know, different view of the night sky, you know, as opposed to this one. Or you can do both, you know. You can do a Milky Way in here, and, you know, like that. I don't know where in relation, you know, Orion would be, but I don't know. You don't have to get technical like that. Okay, so anyways, if you have any questions, drop me a note in the comments section. Thanks again for tuning into the channel. Hope you enjoyed it.